How you doing, everybody? My name is David Anderson, also known as Pep the Poet, and welcome to my series of pep talks. I've got a great one lined up for you today. Wolves legend and a friend of mine, Steve Daley. Can you do me a little favour? At the end of this video, if you're watching it on YouTube, could you just give a little subscribe at the bottom or a like? That I'd be really, really grateful if you could do that. You might be watching this on Facebook or Instagram. Or if you want to follow me, I'm at Pep the Poet. And if you could follow me there, just give me a like or a share. I'd really, really appreciate that. So that's enough for me. Over to my friend Steve Daley. Take care now. Bye-bye. Welcome, everyone, to another one of Pep Talks. And this is Pep Talks number 4 with my dear friend and Wolves legend, Steve Daley. How did we first meet, mate?
You just kept coming up and pestering me, and I thought, well, I've got to say something to him. So I just started talking to you that one afternoon, I think, and went from there.
I think that day you caught me in your bins. You went, "What are you doing, son?" Then I told you I was after a pork pie and everything was great. So, yeah, so I did have absolute pleasure of, sadly, only teaching one of your grandchildren. I taught one of your oldest grandson. And I would have a young one, but as you know, I'm retiring in July. And I've had your oldest granddaughter on work experience, and
they're my life, my kids and my grandkids, mate. The best thing that's ever happened. They really are. We've got 3 children of our own. Kerry, the eldest girl, Ryan, my middle lad, and then Gemma. And between the 3 of them, we've got 10 grandkids.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant.
Yeah.
If ever they went abroad, it would kill me. To destroy me.
As from July, I won't be seeing you every day, but
mate, I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot of disappointed and sad kids and parents there, mate. I'm telling you.
Bless you.
There really, really is.
Oh,
I mean, I think, was it Cody came up to you and walked past you and said, "Don't go.
Don't go." That was it. Just 2 minutes.
Don't go.
Don't go. I'll miss you. The bit I didn't mention there, Steve, that you had 6 games for the England B team, scoring 2 goals.
See, this word research keeps rearing its head, doesn't it? You know what I mean? 14 England youth and 15 England B caps.
Right. So again, that's.
I only got them because there wasn't a C team.
So, Steve, since the last time we spoke, I've done my research a little bit more. And apparently for the, sadly, you never made the England first team side, but you played nearly 30 games for the juniors or the B side. Is that correct?
Yeah. England youth and England B, yeah.
Are you obviously still proud of those, but do you ever feel your career wasn't complete without that England cap?
Yeah, I do. Because I think, obviously, you know that I went to Manchester City and I was on the crest of a wave. We'd just come back from an England B tour from the Far East, Dave. And the manager of England at the time, Ron Greenwood, met us at the airport and he said, Bobby Robson, who was the manager of that tour, he said, Bobby says you've had a great tour. He says, so your next time playing for England will be in a full shirt, full England shirt. And I went, brilliant. And then I went to Manchester City and things didn't work out and I never got another phone call.
Right. Well,
but there's obviously people that would like to have played for the England youth and the England B team, Dave,
and they never did.
And I did that, so yeah.
I always think, like, you know, if you were Ray Clemence or I remember the time when Shilton was the number 1 and Ray Clemence, that I think it's fair to say that Shilt's probably kept Ray Clemence out of goal quite a bit. For who was in the first team? Who was keeping Steve Daley out the first team? What sort of players were keeping Steve Daley out the first team?
You've got Alan Hudson, Tony Curry, Ray Wilkins, Brian Robson. So, mate, there were some good players in there. There were some very good players in there. Yeah. But like I say, if I'd have probably stayed at Wolves and been part of that setup there with Kenny Hibbert and Willie Carr in the middle of the park with me.
I'm just going to show you a picture, Steve. And again, fair play to you. It's a bit of a Probably can't see it quite well there, but you've seen that's on your website.
I'm at the front on lower deck.
Yeah. Now, what I'm going to say on here, I've just looked at the names. Back row, Shaw, Hegan, Wagstaff, McCalliog, Sunderland, Parkin, Eastoe, Richards, Monroe, Dugan, Parks, and McGarry is the manager.
Yeah.
Daley, is it Banley, Hibbert, Arnold, Curran, McAlley, and Taylor. What year was that, Steve, do you think?
That would have been, oh man, 71, 72.
So you've got to pick a five-a-side. Now, obviously,
Right.
Steve Daley's going to be in there because it's
I'm captain as well, by the way.
Steve Daley captain. Out of that gang, who would be in your team?
In goal would be Parksy.
So Parksy in goals.
Yeah. Kenny Ebert would be there. Mick Bailey would be there.
Yeah.
Frank Monroe would be there.
Yeah.
Did you say John Richards was on there?
Yeah, John Richards was there.
John Richards would be on there. Definitely.
Dugan?
No, he couldn't control his temper at times.
All right, so.
I'm just saying that I'm just sort of alluding to the fact that he couldn't control his temper. He couldn't control the ball.
Were you good mates with Duke, though?
Yeah, it was a great, Dave, it was a great time there, mate.
Yeah.
You know, you came in and you trained, you worked hard. You got Bailey, Dugan, Monroe, Curran, Wagstaff, you know. And it was brilliant, mate. Yeah. They were great players.
How are those lads there? Are any of them, do you still keep touch with any of them, even today, 2020?
Kenny Ebert, yeah. John McCall's on there. Derek Parkin,
yeah.
Jeff Palmer, Sunderland.
Yeah.
They're all on there. Obviously, we see each other. The ones that live further away, probably once or twice a year, we have a get-together. We have the golf day. We have the former players' dinner. I think in that era of football, Dave, you know, you didn't forget anybody.
Yeah.
The camaraderie and the togetherness was brilliant, mate. Second to none.
Yeah.
Second to none.
I've got a date here for you. I don't know if you can remember this, mate. You did tell me once, and Wednesday morning, 5th of September, 1979. It's quite specific, but that date's edged in your memory forever, isn't it?
David, it was going so well.
What?
5th of September, 1979, Wednesday morning, 10:45. Passed a medical at Main Road, signed a 10-year contract at Manchester City for £1,437,500.
Right.
That wasn't my contract, by the way.
Yeah.
That was the transfer fee from Wolves to Manchester. I was told by a lot of people in the game that Brian Clough wouldn't pay $1 million for Trevor.
Right.
He said he'd pay $999,000.
Yeah.
But there's add-ons for the FA and the Football League and whatever, Dave, you know, that took his total package over £1 million.
Yeah.
And my actual transfer fee was $1,150,000, which eventually finished up at $1,437,000.
And what would that have been worth today in today's fees?
In 2015, Dave, I got a phone call from a magazine called 442. Magazine, and they said they were doing the people in the 70s that went for a lot of money. They were looking at what they would be worth in 2015. Yeah, and that was 68.2 million. And again, so in all fair, I could have been an even bigger waste of money, Dave, couldn't I? You know what I mean?
I'm going to show you a picture here, mate. So, does that? Yeah. Is that nothing but? Is that just nothing but bad memories, or is it? What's your views on that time, Steve?
It was, it was good in the fact, Dave, that when it went wrong, it gave me, you know, you learn to live with things and you're determined to change them around and all that sort of stuff. And it gives you an different aspect on life. And I was determined that whatever happened to me at Manchester City, which wasn't the best in my career, I would come back and I would be bigger and a bigger, better person for it. And I think I was.
Yeah.
Because it didn't work. And in all fairness, Dave, I signed a 10-year contract and I stayed there 16 months, I think. And I could have stayed there for another 8.5 years, you know, and sit on my contract. But if I'm not playing, you know, I don't want to stay. If I'm not going to play, I'd rather go and play somewhere else.
Were you about 27 then, Steve, or something, was you?
I signed when I was 26, mate, yeah.
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 And again, you could, if you wanted to, you could have sat out your contract, sat in the stands and reaped the money for the next 10 years, couldn't you? If you wanted to.
But if I'm not playing, Dave, I wouldn't want to stay.
Yeah. But it's like you said earlier, they had to sell a lot of the players to fund you. And there's a great YouTube clip you showed us once. It was in training, and you're very vocal against the manager.
Yeah. Malcolm Allison.
Yeah. And your Barnsley come out even more that day.
Well, I was getting angry, weren't I?
Yeah. But what's your views on Malcolm Allison nowadays?
I was talking to Francis Lee and Mike Summerbee at one of the former players' dinners at the Etihad. And they said, what do you think of Malcolm? He was way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
As a coach. And they both said exactly.
In what way, Steve?
He the way he played the game, the way he coached. Not a lot of people were doing what he was doing. So it was sort of alien, Dave, you know. Everybody else went about their own way of playing, but Malcolm wanted to change the game, you know. I think we went to Arsenal one Saturday afternoon, and he said, I'm going to revolutionise football today. I'm going to play one player up front. And I think we beat him 2-0.
Yeah.
And we went on a run of being unbeaten for about 9 games. But because he'd done that in that game at Arsenal, and he's not been beaten for another 8 or 9 games, then it became too easy.
Yeah.
So he wanted to change it again. But his coaching was brilliant, mate. Yeah. And he was a great man, great fella.
If you had your time again, would you have gone?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. When we did the, I come and spoke at your school.
You did.
You know, to the teachers, and it's the way you turn things round, Dave. And I'm sure you're going to comment on it. Is the fact that all that bad press I got, you know, and how I turned it round.
And for those that don't know, Steve, what sort of bad? Because you know, because we've spoke about that. And what sort of bad press was it, Steve?
Oh, it was incredible. It was John Bond says I was a big baby, a crybaby. I wasn't fit to be a father. All sorts.
But you have death threats for the family.
Yeah, if I didn't leave Manchester City when I was 26, I wouldn't see my 27th birthday. My kids would be kidnapped. Yeah. We had to stop the papers being delivered to the house because of the press that was in there. I thought the best thing to do, if I can, is to go abroad, because with what happened to me at Manchester City, wherever I went to another club in England, that stigma would still be there. You know, I've been the biggest waste of money and all that sort of stuff. Biggest waste of money in football history and all that. And it affects you. And I'm thinking, what do my kids think, you know? We'll go abroad, start again. And we went to Seattle for 2.5 years. Came back from there to Burnley. Went from Burnley to San Diego. And it gives you different outlooks on life, Dave, you know. What happens to you negative-wise, it makes you stronger.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got to battle on and battle through it. And we did that. I'm 67 years of age now, and I'm still working, you know. And so I don't think I've done too bad out of everything, you know what I mean?
But this is just a little drop-in session, this is, Stephen. It's going to be the Anderson Daley anecdotes, because we've shared a few over the years. Obviously, you're Steve Daley. What was your dad's name?
You're not going to believe this, Dave, but when people say to me, are you Steve Daley? I'll say, yeah. They'll say, oh, Arthur's son. I say, yeah. Really? They don't believe this, but that was my dad. My dad's name was Arthur Daley.
Your secondary school was changed within a day, according to your dad, wasn't it, or something?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I went to a secondary school, and I got home and my dad said, all right. I said, no, not really, no. He said, why, what's up? I said, that school you've sent me to, Dad, they don't play football, they play rugby. He said, no, what? I said, they play rugby, they don't play football. He said, right then. Now I ain't be going back there tomorrow, cock. And Dave, I never went back to that school. Oh, mate. And he helped me so much, him and my brother.
Yeah.
Because my dad played for Coventry and my brother played for Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah, so they knew what I had to do, really. And they nurtured me and they taught me about life, you know.
He lived long enough to see you playing for the Wolves and everything, like?
Yeah, he saw me make my debut against Southampton, and then we played Tottenham away. I scored. We got beat 2-1. I scored a header from a Willie Carr cross. And when I got back to Wolverhampton, I phoned home and I said to my mum, I said, "Is my dad there?" Because I was on top of the world. I'd scored against Pat Jennings, his favourite goalkeeper, you know. I said, "Is my dad there?" She went, "No, he's over at the club, love." I said, "Okay." So I phoned the club and I said, "Is my dad there?" And he went, "Steve, he hasn't been in for about 3 weeks, Cole."
Right.
So I phoned back and I said, where's my dad? And my mum said, "He's in hospital, love."
Oh, right. So.
I said, "Oh, what's wrong with him?" She said, "He's had a heart attack." I said, "Oh, okay." She said, "He's all right. He'll be okay." And she said, phone back tomorrow morning about 8 o'clock. And I phoned about 7:30. And my mum said, "Is Lynn's mum and dad there with you?" I said, "No, why?" I said, "Don't tell me that." And he passed away probably an hour and a half earlier. So I hadn't seen him for probably 3, 4, 5 months.
Whenever we spoke, you always speak really fondly of your dad, mate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great fella.
He'd be proud of everything you did, like.
Oh, absolutely. He used to, you know, we lived in Coronation Street houses, Dave, you know, back to back. And he'd come out every day with me and just knock the ball against the wall and pass the ball with me every day. And my brother, Pat, as well, exactly the same.
And your grandson did he get a bit of grief at school one day or something?
Yeah, he's saying that whenever anybody goes on to Wikipedia or whatever, and they come up with Steve Daley, and it just says flop. He was a flop footballer. And somebody was saying to him, your granddad couldn't play. Your granddad was rubbish. He said he couldn't play. He says it cost $1.5 million. It was rubbish. And I said, what did he say to him? I asked him, what his granddad play for? And I said, what did he say? He said he just walked off. So there you go.
There are all these things are just our playground banter. But tell me about Halifax, and is it the FA Cup?
Oh God! I tell you what, mate, you're better than Graham Norton. You are. We played Halifax away. They were bottom of the fourth division, the old fourth division day.
Yep.
And we were probably fifth or sixth in the old first division, which is the Premiership now. And I don't think they'd won a game all season. And we spent about £7 or £8 million on players, you know. And they beat us 1-0. The dressing room was just so quiet after the game. Unbelievable. But with 15 minutes to go in that game, we're losing 1-0. And the manager, Malcolm Alice, is on the side of the pitch. He was making a substitution. And I glanced over, and he's got the number 11 held above his head. And I looked over, and you know what I'm like? I have to see the funny side of everything. I have to see if I can crack a joke about anything. And he stood there, the number 11 held above his head, and I thought, God, that's about time. We're all coming off. But yeah, it was that was a bad day. I got a load of grief with that one. I had to have a police escort from the dressing room to the coach. Everybody else has walked out as though everything's okay, you know. So, but it's life, made me stronger.
So obviously, Steve, like nearly 500 professional games spanning Wolverhampton, Manchester, Barnsley, Seattle, all over
San Diego.
Yeah. Now, tell me 3 players that that really that you played against, or you were in the presence. Who were the 3 that you're most proud of? That
the best player I've ever played against, without any shadow of a doubt, is George Best.
Right. So
Oh man, he was brilliant. He was. I've never seen a player with a ball control like him, with pace like him. I mean, at the Stretford end, he faded to go to the left, and the crowd went to the right. He was amazing, Dave. Honestly, he was brilliant and a nice fella, a lovely fella, lovely fella.
You got to speak to him after the game and that, Bestie.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just a normal guy. He was just a normal fella, you know. He was very humble. And the other guys I played against that was just you couldn't get near him on the pitch. He was just too clever. Was Franz Beckenbauer.
Yeah.
And I played against him when he was at the Cosmos, and I'd arranged to get his shirt after the game.
Yeah.
And I walked up to him after the game and I says, "Any chance I can have your shirt, Franz?" And he went, "Yeah." He just took it off like, and he says, "Can I have yours?" I said, "You what?" He said, "Can I have yours?" I said, "You got to clean the car or something? What do you want this for?" He says, "No." He says, I know who you are. You went for a lot of money." And for him to say that to me was just was brilliant. Yeah. And we went. He said, "Are you coming for a beer after the game?" I said, "Yeah. Of course I am. Yeah." And mate, he's just amazing. Yeah. And the other one would be probably Johan Cruyff.
Yeah. And you played against Cruyff as well.
Yeah. He was. I think it was Washington. He was at. That rings a bell with me, but played against him. Different class.
You might be walking through Manchester and some builder might have shouted from some scaffolding, or somebody might have come out of a pub and shouted something rude to you or whatever. You might have had that, but when Bestie, Beckenbauer and Cruyff have a chat with you and say, "Can I have your shirt?" that probably takes that probably eases the pain a little bit, doesn't it, mate?
Oh, it does. Yeah, it's. We played the Cosmos quite a few times, and with Bestie, you know, I remember we played in Anaheim, California. He was playing for LA at the time, and I was walking off with him after the game, and he says, "When do you go back?" I said, "Tomorrow." He says, "Come out and have a beer tonight. Bring some of the lads down to my club," and it was called Bestie's in Anaheim, and he was just so humble, you know. Great man, great lad, great player, incredible footballer. Yeah. The best I've seen.
As a Man United fan, I'm not going to argue with that, pal.
Well, there you go.
Wolves is where your heart is, isn't it, mate? That's your team.
Yes. Yeah.
How are you feeling about this re-emergence of Wolves?
It's absolutely brilliant. The players they've got, it's just incredible. And the main man for me on the pitch turned it around is a lad called Connor Cody.
Right. Yeah.
I just think he's different class, mate. Absolutely brilliant. They've just got great players in every position, Dave. You know, and when they brought Nuno in, I mean, I've got to be honest. No disrespect to the gentleman. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know where he was from. But I was working down there when Nuno joined, and his first game, I think it was Sunderland. And I was doing interviews on the pitch with former players, and I got Jody Kralik coming on at half time. And the first half display of football was unbelievable. And I said, "There's a saying in football, Jody, isn't there? It's like watching Brazil." He says, "We've just seen it."
Yeah.
And the expectations from that first half performance, Dave, I think went from there sky high. And they've been doing it ever since. The football is amazing. The new owners that come in, Fosun, they've done exactly what they said they'd do. They've invested heavily. And Nuno's best friend, well, I think his best mate, one of his best mates, is Mendes, the agent, who's brought in some fantastic players. So yeah, touch wood, mate. Everything looks good.
Have you ever had the chance to sit down and have a brew with Nuno or speak to him? Or
I went up to get some autographs. I took Cody up.
Oh, I remember seeing all the pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, I took Cody up, and we went in, and the players were just brilliant. You know, they had photos taken with him and signed everything. And the only one we hadn't got was Nuno. Right. And one of the security guys says he's on the patio, Steve, out the back. So he went out on the the patio, and he had a photo taken with Nuno, and he was so hospitable, and he asked if Cody played. I said he's a goalkeeper. He went, oh, brilliant, you know. And he had a photograph taken, and he signed a couple of pictures for him, and he was fabulous.
Right, we'll wrap up in a minute, Steve. And thanks very
Okay.
much. You've been really
No problem, mate.
You've been really open, and you've answered all my questions. And Wolves, as you know, the colour of Wolves is gold and black. And I was thinking about bright and dark. Now, out the two of us, you and I, we've spoke openly to each other about we've had some bright times in our lives, and we've also had some very dark times. My darkest time was 2 years ago. I suffered with anxiety and depression. I was off work for 10 weeks. You shared yourself. You've had some dark times yourself, haven't you, mate?
Yeah, all through football. Things didn't work out at Manchester City, and all the things that were being said and done. But you have to take hold of it and let the character come through. And with all that bad press I was getting, I said to my wife Lynn, I said, I'm going to be I want to do after dinner speaking. And all that negative stuff, I turned it round into a positive. And 3 years in a row, I was Soccer Speaker of the Year.
What you've missed out here, mate, is when you said to Lynn, I'm going to be an after dinner speaker, and she said, what are you going to talk about? Can you remember?
Oh, God, yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, being the biggest waste of money in football history twice, having death threats, all that sort of stuff. And I said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
And I turned all those negatives into positives on my speeches.
And I've been privileged to see that, mate. So out of the darkness comes light. Now, obviously, the light you've shared of your grandchildren, your memories, and but in this lockdown, this time of people will be losing their jobs, and it'll be tough for some people. But mate, you were there. You were riding on the crest of the wave. 10-year contract, set up for life, and then within 16 months, death threats, and then things written on the internet about the biggest flop in football history or whatever. How do you bounce? So people, all of just a little message, mate, for people out there that might be struggling at the moment, just thinking, what's the point? You must have been there at one stage, and you're not there anymore. So what did you do to make it what did you do to be the man you are today, mate?
I just wanted to prove to my family that whatever I wanted to achieve, I could do. And I was telling my kids and my grandkids, whatever they want to achieve, they can. And if I'm telling them they can, then I've got to as well. And we'll all do it together.
Another lovely little tale of Steve Daley that, again, people don't know about. My year 6 class, and your grandson Mason was in that class. They were supposed to go on the end of the year. They all go for a big swimming party or a bowling, whatever. I think it was swimming. But the night before, we found out it wasn't on. The kids were gutted. But in stepped Steve Daley with you got a tour of the wall. You got a tour of the Molyneux. They went up to the players' round, and you had pizza delivered for them. And he had a great time. But the one thing that stuck out for me, one of the kids said they went in the changing room and they looked round. There was a saying, and he says, "If you play for the badge on your shirt, they'll remember your name on the back." And I just think that's great, mate. And it's just that
absolutely.
And it's a lot
I think everybody cares for each other deep down, and you'd like to see people do well and succeed. And that's what I want for people that I know, and that's what I want for my family.
Yeah. So Steve Daley, who's my personal friend, seriously, pal, we've had some great crack, and we'll have some great crack to come.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time, Steve. And
pleasure.
I'm going to edit this. I'll put some of the photographs on, and I'm going to ring every one of my Wolves fans and say, "I told you I was a mate of Steve Daley's." You know what I mean? I tell you what, though, Steve, if this Pep the Poet takes off, people will say to you, "You're a friend of Pep the Poet, aren't you, mate?"
I think I'll have passed away by that time, Dave. I've got to be honest with you. Dear me, behave, mate.
Right, Steve, thanks very much for your time, mate. And I really, really cherish our friendship. And thanks for your time. And yeah, you're a good man, Steve Daley. And I love you very much.
Back at you, pal.
Take care, buddy. God bless you.
Ta-ra, mate. Bye-bye.